Hey YouTube, got a 2014 Ford F-150 XLT 4x4 here. Today's task is to install the equipment to get the remote start going. This is the part number for the remote control kit that I ordered from Ford dealer. What it consists of is the antenna, the wiring for said antenna, and then a package of a couple of keys. So keys with the remote button, which we had cut by the Ford dealer. Pretty easy installation here. Just a couple things that need to come off. The side panel needs to come off, and then we've got to get the glove box out of the way. And to do that, you push this side in and this side in, and then this should get the glove box door to drop. This side panel here, you can put your finger in it and it just simply pops off. So now we've got the glove box door out of the way and the side panel off. The next thing that we need to access is the TPMS module, which is the tire pressure monitoring system module, which is right there. There's another connector. I don't know how well we'll be able to see it. It's that gray connector right there that's currently doesn't have a connector or a wiring harness plugged into it. So the appropriate end of this wiring harness will plug into it. Next order of business would be to mount the antenna. So the antenna is really hard to kind of show you guys. Maybe if I go to wide angle. These two tabs on top of the glove box opening is where the antenna module would mount. So it actually would go like this. There's a couple of screw holes here which line up with these screw holes right here. And unfortunately I forgot to order these screws for that, but we can use these screws, number 8 3/4 inch panhead Phillips screws, or you can order the Ford screw. So as you can see here, I've got the antenna module installed and screwed in under the dashboard above the glove box opening. Sorry for the footage here, but it's a little bit tight. And as you can see right here, dead center in the frame, if it'll focus, I've got the one side of that antenna harness plugged into the antenna. So now we just have to plug the other end into the gray plug here for the TPMS module right there. All right, so as you can see here, we've got the remote start harness plugged into the TPMS module. This wire loom is designed for several different products in the Ford line. So they tell you that these push clips aren't really relevant on the F-150. So what we'll do now is I'll just take some zip ties and secure it behind the dash here. Got the wiring secured just out of the way, tie wrap to the tie wrap to the main harness here, just keeping it out of the way of the glove box door, and tie wrapped it enough to or zip tied it enough so that it doesn't rattle behind the dash. So now we'll just put the glove box door back together, which involves pushing the two sides in. So you push the two sides in and then it just shuts. Now this piece is easier to do if you pull the weather stripping back. It's just held on by these clips here. So you just want to get everything lined up. You want to make sure that this round piece with the foam goes into the duct right there. Once you make sure everything's lined up, it just snaps in place. One of the other things you need to look out for when doing a remote start installation is to make sure that the vehicle already has the hood switch in place. So in the case of most XLTs and above, I believe this hood switch is standard. XL models generally will not have this hood switch. So if that's the case, you'll need to order a hood switch to go along with your remote start kit. The harness and vehicles that do not have the hood switch from the factory will just be plugged in place right here next to the coolant bottle. So it's already pre-wired. You'll just have to add the hood switch. As you can see, they currently are not programmed to the vehicle. To program new keys to this 2014 F-150, pretty similar process as a video I did on a Ford Escape. You need 2 working keys that are already good to go here. Stick the first one in the ignition, turn it to the on position to where all the stuff in the dash comes on, remove it, stick the next key in the ignition for a couple seconds, remove it, take your new key, stick it in the ignition, turn it on. You should hear the lock cycle, which indicates that it's programmed. For the second new key, we'll need to start this process all over again. So we take a key that already works, turn it to the on position, count to 4 or 5, stick another key in the ignition, count to 3, 4, or 5. Now stick your key that didn't work into the ignition, and you should hear the key lock or the door locks actuate. So now that we've done this process twice with both sets of keys, we should be able to verify that the door locks work with all keys. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll verify that the new keys start the vehicle. Okay, so both new keys start the vehicle. We'll just double check that we didn't mess anything up. The original key, and then the key that the owner is using, which is one of the original keys that came with the truck. So all the keys are now programmed, and the final bit for doing the remote start installation is to have a dealer program the instrument cluster and the body control module to recognize that there is a remote start installed in this truck. So you can either have the dealer or shop activate the remote starter functionality on the truck with Ford IDS, or you can use software such as FORScan to do this. Of course, like anything else, you incur all of the risk by running software like FORScan. So we've booted up FORScan, got the OBD2 dongle connected to the computer, and FORScan is running. So now it sees the truck. We just go ahead and click yes there. It looks like it's gone through and read all of the DTCs or diagnostic trouble codes. So now we'll go over to the configuration menu. There's a couple of modules that we need to configure to get the remote start working. So we'll go here. The first one that we want to do is the body control module. So we'll go ahead and select body control module and then go. So again, do this at your own risk. We're here mostly for entertainment purposes only. So we'll scroll down to where it says remote start, and we will enable it. It's enabled. Now we write to the module. Old values disabled, new values enabled. Cycle the ignition switch off and then turn it back on. Okay, so we'll get out of this one. Okay, we'll go back to configuration and programming, and now we will go to the instrument panel, IPC. And then we'll hit the go button, and we'll scroll over to where it says remote start. So there's several settings here in remote start that you have to activate. First one is this one here, enabled. Climate settings, it's another one that needs to be enabled. Now, these two here, passenger seat, driver's seat, these functions only work if you have like a Lariat or a higher model that has memory seats. So it has the ability to put the driver's seat menu in the cluster there under remote start settings. But since this is an XLT, it has a power driver's seat, but it does not have the memory function. We will say disabled here and keep the passenger seat as disabled as well, since it is a manual seat. This truck is equipped with rear defrost, so we'll go ahead and enable that functionality for the remote start as well. So remote start enabled, climate settings enabled, and rear defrost enabled. We'll go ahead and hit right. Verify that we're making those changes. It's correct. Cycle the ignition switch off and then back on. We'll hit OK, and we'll exit this procedure. And just for giggles, we'll go to diagnostic trouble codes and just make sure that there aren't any new ones that have shown up. Read. So this HVAC one has been here. I think this truck's got an issue with the recirculate door. I believe it's broken on this truck, so that's not surprising that this is here. Anyway, that is the segment for how we get the remote start activated on the truck itself. And I'll get the computer out of the way and we'll look at the instrument cluster and its menu now that it has changed with the remote start settings. So now we are in the truck after having everything activated with the modules, the instrument panel and the body control module. Now we could just go ahead and check to make sure that everything works. So now we have a remote start menu. And we can set things up like the climate control, whether it does the defroster, and then what the settings are for the heater and air conditioning, and then duration. So we can set the duration or turn it off. And then quiet start, we'll do the quiet start so that it doesn't honk the horn when you hit the remote start. Don't want to wake the neighbors up in the morning. Once the appropriate modules in the truck have been programmed to reflect the installation of the remote start, we can go ahead and check for functionality with one of the new keys. We'll actually do it with both keys. Doors have to be in the locked position, and hit the remote start button twice. Of course. All right, so there we go. We'll shut the truck off, unlock the door, open it. Check with the second key. So the other key, we'll go ahead and check the functionality of the lock. And if you look there to the dashboard, it should say something along the lines of the remote starts running, and to drive, stick the key in the ignition to the on position and drive. Alrighty, well that's the complete process for getting the factory remote start working for one of these 2014 F-150s. As you can see, it's not an overly involved process. Pretty much plug and play with the exception of getting the IPC and body control modules programmed to allow the functionality for the remote start. I hope you like this video. If you like the video, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.